Day 22, match 26, and yet the Mumbai Indians are searching for their first win. They come up against the Lucknow Super Giants. That's where our attention lies. On Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time, powered by IQ 9 5G. Their next game is against the Super Kings. Can they at least meet them with some points off the board? These two teams touted as favourites for the playoffs for most pundits pre-tournament, and here we are now seeing them languish at the bottom of the table. At least CSK have felt victory, have tasted it. MI are still looking for some answers. Will it come in the form of a team change, a full complement of overseas players, and a one toss at the Brabant Stadium? That's what's happened. Rohit Sharma is going to have a bowl. He's doing well with the tosses. It's what happens after that for the next 3 hours that seems to have not gone Mumbai Indians' way. Fabian Allen's going to play, so we have plenty to discuss with Sanjay Manjrekar and Ian Bishop, who of course had his hands around his waist when I said pundits had predicted MI and CSK in the top four. He obviously mustn't be among those pundits, given he is a slightly different man.
I did the same thing here. I did the same thing. Maybe 3-4 years back, the pundits had touted them to get into the final four, but I don't think this time round anyone was like gung-ho about.
So you did not call either MI or CSK in your top four?
MI definitely not.
Yeah, but you
CSK,
got one.
hang on.
Yeah.
CSK I said yes because I was under the impression Mahendra Singh Dhoni was the captain before he let loose that hand grenade.
Seasoned pundit like you should have given in your prediction, assuming Dhoni is captain, CSK will
Then
be.
I can say, assuming 5 players are unavailable for or injury or whatever,
Yes.
this team will not qualify.
Right. But you also on our show previously said Jadeja is not captain, Dhoni is captain.
I think we've got far more important
This
things
is
to
why
do.
I want Ian Bishop on the show. You know how when you get to know someone too well, you should always have a bit of an objective person to actually see who's at fault here. So let's go to Ian Bishop. He's going to be off to the 1K in a few hours. We have him before that. He's already entertained. Would you be doing anything else on a Saturday afternoon on the Easter weekend than watch Mr. Manjrekar and me bicker, Mr. Bishop?
No, I love it. Honestly, it's as good a part of the Tata IPL as anything else on show, and the learning you can get from divergent points that you guys argue is fascinating education.
He says it so
How
eloquently.
do you know when you have an expert who is only in the studio and an expert who also does commentary?
Tata IPL.
Correct.
Yes. And the difference is on our panel, as it turns out. That is your own doing. Mr. Manjrekar and Mr. Bishop will be with me to build up to Mumbai against Lucknow. Let's get serious, shall we? Because I don't think the owners and the management of the Mumbai Indians are laughing a lot these days. They are not used to this sort of, well, let's call it humiliation. In a 10-team IPL, they would have liked to see their team challenging for the top four. It's fast slipping away from them. They're running out of time. And the team that they've played, is it a reflection of some sort of change in what their approach should be? Fabian Allen is playing, so they have their full complement of overseas players. We'll just confirm in a moment. We'll assume it's for one of the Indian seamers. Now, Basil Thampi is in that list, so I'm just going to run around and just check who misses out and come to that in a second. Timal Mills also keeps his place, and it looks like Murugan Ashwin has been dropped. I'm going to confirm that in a second, but Fabian Allen does get a game. Bish, thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's about time, and I say that guardedly because of what Fabian Allen can bring. He can bring that hard-hitting finishing power. He's an excellent fielder, one of the best in the world when he's fit, and then he's got the left-arm darts that he can serve up for you. And if Mumbai, and they've been struggling, they've got to trust their overseas players. So at least I'm glad to see them give that opportunity to so many of them today. The one thing I say guardedly with Fabian Allen is that I've been disappointed with some of his batting. His batting in the last couple of years hasn't come along in the way that I had expected him to. And I've often said his lack of maybe longer form cricket has stagnated his performance. So I'm glad to see him in, but he has a job ahead of him to live up to his abilities.
Just confirming that it is not for Murugan Ashwin. Both spinners will play. It's for Basil Thampi. So Rohit Sharma said at the toss that he's adding another slow bowler. Doesn't quite call them spinners. He calls them another slow bowler. But he is going to be in a two-man spin attack along with Murugan Ashwin. Sanjay.
Bish called him darts, left arm darts from Fabian Allen. I guess the reason why he's playing is because of his batting. In the last game, I thought some of the batters came really good. Brevis was outstanding. But after Pollard, you had Jaidev Unadkat as your next batter. And that must have been like, oh dear, we need to do something about this. So I feel sorry. for people like Thampi and all those guys who never seem to get the long rope. But Mumbai Indians, despite such stardom in the batting lineup, still need a Fabian Allen to bolster their batting order. I think that must be the more compelling reason than just having another spinner for spinner's sake. And again, back to the auction, if they had retained Rahul Chahar as the spinner, all these things would have been unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, at that auction, there were a number of former Mumbai Indians that we thought their former franchise would go hard for. It did not happen. The Lucknow team actually have quite a few of those. Quinton de Kock will be there, so too will Krunal Pandya, players that have been part of a championship winning side for Rohit Sharma's team in the past, and he now sees them in the opposition, including a KL Rahul, who enjoys a tremendous record against the Mumbai Indians, no matter which franchise he plays for. There is a change there, though. Manish Pandey will not bat at number 7 or 8 because even though the Super Giants are capable of throwing a few surprises, we'd assume Pandey will reclaim number 3. And K. Gautam, who's actually had a very good couple of games with the ball, misses out. Now, Sanjay, are you surprised by that?
Yes, it's an afternoon game, and we have the opposition saying they needed to slow the pace, get a spinner in, and we've got a spinner out. Now, when you look at K. Gautam at the IPL level, you're looking at him more as an all-rounder. His batting, which has not really come good, which it's capable of. But his bowling, as you said, very good in the last match, 4 overs for 34, I think, and 4 overs for 30 and a couple of wickets. Yeah. So a little unfair in an afternoon game that they've left a spinner out. But again, maybe that insecurity that they feel with their batting, because if Ayush Badoni doesn't get going or a Huda doesn't have a good game, then you're looking at depending on people like Jason Holder, Stoinis batted down the order. So yes, ideally you would want a spinner. Manish Pandey is coming back for no reason, apart from,
being a designated batter.
Yeah.
Now, would you think that there is some merit in their insecurity, Bish? They won one and lost one after they made that change to bring in Gautam. They beat a team like the Delhi Capitals. And against Rajasthan, they tried all these tricks and whatnot. But fact is, with Marcus Stoinis, they came, 1 hit or 2 hits away from actually winning the game. Are you surprised by this move?
I'm a little surprised, not being hypercritical of it, but I thought Gautam might have done enough, and he offers that hitting ability down the back, if not at 3 where they sent him the last time. So yeah, it's a little bit tough. What that specialist batting of Manish Pandey can do is that if he doesn't come in high up the order, if he keeps dropping down the order, at least the length of the batting gives confidence to the guys up at top that they're able to go hard freely. KL Rahul needs to step up with the bat again. He's gotten a couple of first ballers already this season. So I find it intriguing to see how they go. But you made a good point. They were only a couple of strikes away from winning that last game. And there are a couple of balls in the slot for Marcus Stoinis, which he missed from Kuldeep Singh. So fascinating. Can I just identify a point you made, I think the last time we chatted, where we said we kept putting this caveat on a lot of the decisions we make over the season. I watch a lot of NBA basketball. And the one thing I hate when I see the talk shows from show to show, every week they choose a different MVP. It's such a long season that you're going to find these fluctuations in pitches, in conditions, in teams, in form. So that's the only reason we use that caveat a lot. And I hope it's not annoying viewers, but it's a reality.
Yeah, fair enough. Absolutely. This is also a new team, new franchise. So we try and figure patterns and developments. We know that Gautam Gambhir is a big fan and endorser of Manish Pandey. He's picked him up over here, and back he comes to presumably bat at number 3. But it should make for a fascinating conversation given they've gone a bowler light. I guess one other way of looking at it is Deepak Huda has not bowled a lot. Krunal Pandya hasn't always bowled his 4 overs. So they do have the options. Marcus Stoinis hasn't bowled either.
Yeah, but the bowling quality has gone down. So, yeah, it's not the greatest of moves. And Manish Pandey's, IPL career and what he can offer, we all know. We've seen the best of Manish Pandey. We've seen the worst of him. Good luck to him. Let's hope it works. You've gone one bowler short, but if Manish Pandey can, more than make up with runs, then, the team still finds a way to win matches.
Yeah, we're going to keep a close eye on him, no doubt. I remember a year the Sunrisers where they literally just benched him for the sake of benching him. And when he came back in this extraordinary sort of form. So if Gauti is doing Gauti things, then, we may see the best of Manish Pandey just by virtue of him having been benched. He'll have the job to do first up. Lucknow are batting. And the one thing we do know is that they're up against, can't believe I'm saying it for the Mumbai Indians, but one of the worst bowling attacks in the league. And death bowling has been right on top of their troubles. Just looking at how they've gone for economy rates this season, Mumbai are going at 9.5 on an average, Punjab at 9.2, and Chennai, who find themselves in a similar half of the table or part of the table now, at 9.1. It's not really a massive change in personnel to address a bowling issue. Fair to say, Sanjay?
And it's something that I thought we addressed really well in the run order, which is a light-hearted cricket show. But in the end, we sort of concluded that there's nothing much that they can do with their bowling attack. It's just a constraint that they've got to live with. So try and get more and more out of your batting. So that's one problem they have, because when you look at Timal Mills coming in and look at the other options that they have, Mumbai Indians, there's Unatkat, there was Thampi in the last game, and Bumrah. So these are not guys that can rely on. But the options that they have are Timal Mills, there's Daniel Sams, there's Riley Meredith. So, they are handicapped with the options that they have. So trying to make the best of it. They'll only win matches if every batter just raises game even more. We saw Surya Kumar Yadav do it, but not to win the game. People like Pollard will have to come to the party, not just as a batter, as a bowler as well, just to come to the rescue of his ailing team that needs the bowler, Karen Pollard.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Sanjay, because we brought that up a couple of games back, that Pollard, the bowler, needs to bowl more, Bish, and seemed to be given that job, maybe given an extra over in the odd game. But again, in the last game, they went away from that. They went to their 5 specialist bowlers. I think at this point now, we should say, let's put the auction talk aside. We all agree that they messed it up, and now there's a whole season in front of us. How would you still look at these set of bowlers and think, yeah, this is a bowling attack that can still get better, can still be capable of winning you T20 games? You've got Mills, Bumrah, Unatkat. Today you got Fabian Allen, you got Murugan Ashwin, and Pollard, and a couple of other part-timers. How can you improve them?
Well, okay, Jasprit Bumrah has to do what Jasprit Bumrah does, right? And he's got to do it to his highest level of excellence. And he's always capable of doing that, even if teams try to see him out. Tamal Mills, for me, has to deliver more. He's not been terrible, but he's come with a big reputation of bowling at the death, bowling slower balls, adding a yorker to his game. And you want more from him, certainly. You talk about Pollard maybe giving you the other over. Jaidev Unadkat is in there as well. Great experience. To me, the thing with Pollard, I want to see, I don't care if Pollard bowls an over or two. What I want to see is Pollard winning games with the bat. That is the biggest thing for me. He's not doing that. So, look, you can keep his over. Bowl him whatever you want, but he needs to win games with the bat for me. Put your hand up. He's done it enough in the past. Mumbai need him to do the same this season.
On that point, Bish, interesting you bring it up. We have come to expect something from Kieron Pollard for the Mumbai Indians in particular, or even in T20 cricket, that over a season of 14 games, Pollard will win you 2, maybe 3. And we've heard a number of our panelists say that's the expectation from an overseas player, that if each overseas player wins you 2 games a season, that's 8 games effectively, and a couple of Indian players chip in, that's an entire IPL season. That's how Pollard has gone so far. In fairness, looking at this team, is it a reasonable expectation of Pollard to say, you've got to win us more than those 2 or 3 games, looking at the team that we have?
Look, Pollard is a champion. He's won championships with teams in the Caribbean and more so with Mumbai Indians, right? So I do know that finishing role, we all acknowledge that finishing role is a high risk role. But the level of form, Pollard has put in the work this season. He knew this was going to be a big year, so I know that he is personally put in the work. So apart from having to win 2 or 3 games this season off his own bat, the in-between scores as well are a critical thing for him and for Mumbai Indians. It can't be, I'm just going to win a couple of games and then the rest of the games I don't need to score. No, he still needs to contribute. He still needs to show that flexibility that Shimon Hetmeyer, for example, has shown, where if wickets go early, I can adapt to the situation, hold things together, and then tee off towards the end. And Pollard has more than enough skill and experience to do that. So I personally want to see much more of that and much better from him with that.
Just looking at his numbers from the second leg of IPL 2021, and he finished that first leg on as high a high as possible. Terrific, typical vintage Pollard innings against CSK Delhi. That was the last game before the tournament was suspended and moved to the UAE several months later. But that's the number, average of less than 15, strike rate less than 120. Can we expect consistency from Pollard, Sanjay, at this stage of his career?
No. And that's the point I want to make. The Pollard that we've seen over the years, he, winning matches is one thing, but he will win you matches that you see him unlost. A lot of people will stay there and play that one innings and become the one batter who took the team through and won them the game. Pollard has this greatness of power where you think the match is lost, you need 14 or 15 runs in over, 7 overs left. Pollard will win you those games. But the consistency obviously over the years has gone down. That is why, again, right at the start of the game, like the toss, you have an advantage bowling second. If Pollard bowls you at least 3 overs, 2 or 3 overs, that's always going to be an advantage, an option that the captain can go to. Last game, Thampi, 4 overs 47. Unadkat, 4 overs 44, and not a single over from Pollard. I want him to, contribute with the bat, but the consistency will never be there. The magic of Pollard will always be around, but the bowling can just make Pollard, the cricketer, just give more to his team.
Just last word on Pollard. It's a very interesting chat we're having. You think teams are now spending enough time on Pollard pre-match when they play the Mumbai Indians, Bish? Leg spinner's obviously going to come on. He's obviously going to bowl a few googlies. Is Pollard not being able to counter this matchup against him? Is he smart enough, good enough, capable enough to do it and yet not finding a way? Or is that just something we have to accept? Teams are outsmarting him.
Teams are working on a weakness that they see. Not all leg spinners triumph against him, but more and more coming into play. Now, Hasaranga, for example, is one that has made him look very simple. So that's work for Pollard to do. There's a tightening up of the game. And I hope I'm not giving the wrong impression where you're looking for consistency from a finisher as you would from maybe a top order 1, 2, or 3 player who is able to be more consistent because he has more time. But I just think I'm looking at the numbers and I'm saying there's more that Pollard can offer you, even if it's not a consistent average of 25, 30 in that role, because it's a high risk role being a finisher. I just think that there's more that he can give you with the bat. But you're right, there are some technical challenges where teams are matching up a lot better against him now at age, 33 or 34, whatever it is.
We're talking about the big boys for the Mumbai Indians. And Pollard is a big boy. Rohit Sharma is a big boy too. These are two key players. They've built their team and their successful championship winning side around them. And we keep talking about it. Rohit Sharma, the batter, doesn't always come to the party. Maybe hasn't needed to in the last few years with the kind of team that he's had. But we need a bit more from Rohit Sharma as well, Sanjay. He's not put in the 600 plus run season that a Virat Kohli or a KL Rahul or even a Shikhar Dhawan have over the past 4 or 5 IPLs. He's getting starts. He's looking good. What's missing?
I have no idea. We try and find some reason because when you see Virat Kohli bat, you can see that he's down on confidence. The power game has let him down a little bit. With Rohit Sharma, when he gets 20, you can see everything's right. The machine is working fine, but suddenly it sort of stops working after a while. I don't know. I might want to suggest, him now invested so much in Test cricket and all that, whether he has the energy that these people always talk about, or the mental reserves to give it everything in every IPL game. I just wonder.
What about Mr. Jaffar's unique suggestion on that run order? Bat him at 3 and put Devil Brevis up top. Let him try a different role, control the innings, try and bat deep for a period of time.
Somebody else at the top, because I'm liking what we're seeing with Devil Brevis. He's a young guy. He's just got himself going, and suddenly you move him from that position at the top of the order. May not be ideal because these are fragile products. You've got to take care of them. They're new to IPL. It's a precious kind of rare talent that we've seen. But it's an idea that has been explored by Mumbai Indians in the past. Could work, but every time you see him bat, you see everything
Seems
is
fine.
fine.
Yeah.
And the other point quickly I'll make is, why this onus on Pollard contributing? What about the 15 crore batter that they have at the top? And the reason why you pay that kind of sum is that the batter is consistently, getting you scores or putting you in winning positions. So that's another expectation I would have as owner from somebody like an Ishan Kishan.
Well, in fairness, a couple of half centuries to start the season. It's gone off the boil then, Ishan Kishan, 14, 26 and 3, all at
Half
less than run a ball.
centuries are not indications of form in IPL. We saw Virat Kohli get a couple last season, but he never looked in form.
Okay, fair point. That's the argument on Ishan Kishan.
Sorry, what was his strike rate? So because I don't
81
want
not out of 48 in the first ball. So
yeah,
a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Delhi had a good one. They lost that game. Then 54 of 43 against Rajasthan in a chase
that's
that
okay.
went wrong. Then 14, 21, 26, 28 and 3 of 6.
Yeah.
So they're all feeling the pressure. Rohit Sharma, as we've established, has looked good when he starts. You look at his first 10 balls. Gee, looks like he's in the form of his life. He's in great nick. And that's been fairly consistent over the years too. We look at him in the first, it's the best strike rate for him. And it's 140 plus. I mean, he did it in 2015. They went on to win. Now, is he feeling the pressure of a weakened team, Bish? Because this is a guy who is still, arguably one of India's best white ball batters. He's perfectly fine doing the job for India. Out here, he just doesn't seem to have those big seasons.
Yeah, and that's disappointing. And as we itemize through the teams and we break it down, both himself and Ishan Kishan have to step up more when your team is in trouble. He said something at the toss a little while ago. I don't know if it stood out to you guys. He said, I've told the guys that they're not under any pressure. He made it a point to say that as if guys were starting to feel a little bit of pressure and he wanted them to have fun, in indicating that that's when they play their best. So that's something to watch out for. But I certainly feel, and we said it after the T20 World Cup, that Rohit needs to play. I think T20 top order batting is to play freely when the pitches have settled down. When it's doing a bit, you have to hold on. And if you're holding on, you've got to go deep. It can't just be holding on and going for 15 and 20 if you're playing that anchor role. So he needs to lead from the front. Sanjay will know as well. Captaining, when you're captaining, some captains have managed to get away, as Owen Morgan did last year, without impacting the scoreline. But ideally, you want to impact the scoreline because it helps your confidence and your tactics and it helps your team to follow you.
One thing to say, you're not under pressure. Knowing this franchise, is that just captain talk, kind talk? They are under pressure?
I mean, what I hear is obviously, the owners are winners. I mean, they're, looked at as number one leadership positions in the corporate world. And Mumbai Indians have the most IPL titles. So this may not be going down too well. So I don't know what's happening there between the owners and the captain and the players. But I also, on a couple of occasions, felt there was a bit of a disconnect with what was done in the auction and how Rohit Sharma was captaining the team as well, not bowling Pollard at all and letting Unadkat and Timal Mills bowl their 4 overs and, all those kind of things. Okay. So it's a very unusual situation that we're seeing with Mumbai Indians.
Even though they have been in this situation in the past, but they're missing some of those characters. We've said that
no
multiple
this
times.
Time,
Yes. But if they can do a job with the ball early on, maybe that'll get them going. And they have Quinton de Kock, who they know enough of. Quinton de Kock seems to have his own matchups. Let's see if they are exploited today. The dangerous player that he is, he hasn't started particularly well, but he's got one of the poorer averages against wrist spin. He's in company of the likes of Riddhiman Saha, Robin Uthappa, Ravindra Jadeja, and that's not necessarily big reading. Are we looking at a Murugan Ashwin bowling early in the power play today? He's a player also who seems to have lost a bit of confidence, Sanjay.
Yeah, because when you look at the other options that they have, they don't have a great seam bowling attack. There's Bumrah there, so maybe Bumrah with the new ball, but they don't use him that much. M. Ashwin, I'm glad he's been retained. He could be the one, they could try. But, apart from that, I just want Timal Mills. I watched him in the last game. Bish will also know far too many variations. Sure. Every ball was different in the 6 ball over. So if you can just stick to the basics for a while, the odd variation.
Let me also bring up his numbers against finger spin. Mahela loves his matchups, but has he seen these numbers? De Kock struggles against wrist spin. He's actually okay against finger spin. Yet the strike rate's 113, but there have been 13 dismissals and average is better. But they've started with finger spin. Tilak Verma has the ball in hand. He's going to bowl a bit of part-time off spin. Bish, do you think this is already the, you could say, the preemptive damage control? Let's get a couple of overs out of the way. It's not starting with a Bumrah. It's starting with Tilak Verma to bowl to de Kock and Rahul. You're smiling already.
No, because you get to see these things and then you catch me off guard and you throw this at me. You obviously have your screen there, or you've got this some connection. Look, those numbers do surprise me. You know, I'm a numbers man, and I thought that he would have done much more against leg spin as opposed to finger spin, where I always feel that if he's coming up against Ar Ashwin should bowl to him straight away. To turn the ball away from him, or theoretically anyway. So I don't know enough about Tilak Verma's bowling to be able to have an opinion.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I was just sort of bringing up the point that he's gone for a part-timer first over in the game. Is that a fair idea?
It's for Quinton de Kock. It's certainly not for KL Rahul. But this is where you want to see partnerships and team spirit. Where, okay, Quinton, let me take this guy on because this is a guy I can, hit 4 sixes in an over at will. But let's see whether KL Rahul again has long-term plans or stays in the moment, because this is a great opportunity for KL Rahul to have a 15-16 run over.
Okay, loves the Mumbai Indians. So let's see how he goes. How many are they going to get, Sanjay? Lucknow Super Giants. Afternoon game, Brabourne Stadium. Saw a game last night there as well.
Let me go with 170 odd. Being an afternoon game, yeah.
That's interesting. Mumbai might be happy with that, Bish. You think if they get 170, what are you backing Lucknow to get?
Yeah, that 170 sounds like a good phase to aim at.
Okay. Let's see if they get beyond that, lesser than that. After all that we discussed about the Mumbai Indians bowling, Lucknow, you think would be disappointed if they get just 170. But let's see how things go. Funnier things have happened in the IPL. We'll pick up the chair at halftime with Bish and Sanjay. Join us then on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time Out, powered by IQ 95G.